40 boys were congregated upon the playground in front of Mr. Watson's large select school in Pineyville, waiting for the ringing of the school bell. They were of ages ranging from 7 to 15, and they all bore signs of wealth in their carefully selected clothing, handsome satchels, and other outward tokens which mark the children of rich parents, as distinctly in the schoolboy as in the grown man. While they waited, a boy of 12 or 13 years of age, with a noble face and an air of quiet refinement, but dressed shabbily, walked hastily past the group and entered the schoolhouse. No voice greeted him as he passed, but when he was fairly inside the building, a storm of ill-natured comments arose. "There goes Mr. Watson's beggar," said one. "His toes are well enough to be out of his boots," cried another. "Did you ever see such a coat?" asked a third. "I'll tell you what it is, boys," cried Charlie Kitley, a tall, handsome boy, apparently the oldest of the group. "Mr. Watson has no business to expect us to associate with beggars." "No," agreed Will Mason. "We are all gentlemen's sons here." "Edward Hunter is not a beggar," exclaimed a fair-haired, blue-eyed boy, who spoke then for the first time. "Did he ever beg of any of you?" "His mother takes in sewing for a living," said Charlie. "Honest work is not beggary." "Harry Mills," said Charlie severely, "his mother is not a lady." "She is. His fatherman was a gentleman of wealth, but he failed and died. My mother says Mrs. Hunter is a lady, and I guess she knows." His voice softened as he said, "I know how to feel for a boy without a father, money or no money." "He ought to go to work," persisted Charlie. "He probably will when he finishes the year of study Mr. Watson is giving him." "In the meantime," said Charlie, "he is a disgrace to the school, with his shabby out-at-the-elbows coat and patched trousers. It makes me hot all over to see such a walking scarecrow going in and out of the school that I attend. Come, boys, join me in the conspiracy, and we will turn him out." The other boys looked rather startled at the bold proposition, but finally one voice said, "But Mr. Watson thinks everything of Eddie. He will never allow him to be turned out of the school." "Oh, Mr. Watson will not even know it. We drove a boy out of the last school I attended. We did not let him have a moment's peace. Tore his compositions, soiled his books, stole his luncheon basket every day, and filled it with dirt and stones." "What a shame!" cried Harry Mills indignantly. "You can easily drive a boy out of school if you all conspire against him," continued Charlie. "I should think so," was Harry's answer. "What is one boy against 40? See here, boys, is there a better boy among us than Eddie Hunter?" "No," was the reluctant but unanimous answer. "Is he not respectful, obedient, orderly, an example to most of us? Who can say here that Eddie ever harmed him?" Silence was the only answer. "Has he not helped many of us in difficult studies?" Silence again. "I will start a conspiracy. Next Wednesday we will steal Eddie's luncheon basket, as Charlie suggested, and—" "The bell! The bell!" cried 40 voices, and 40 pairs of feet rushed across the playground and into the schoolhouse. Wednesday morning found Eddie Hunter starting for school with a face so somber it was almost sad. It seemed as if he must give up the year of study, so kindly offered by Mr. Watson, for he was lacking in clothing. Toil as hard as she would, his widowed mother had all she could do to pay the rent and feed 4 children, 3 of whom were little ones, and Eddie the only one who could have worked for her. She was as anxious as himself for the opportunity for education to be improved. She understood well how hard it was for the sensitive boy to take his ragged clothes among the well-dressed sons of the wealthy men of the village. The school was an expensive and popular one, many of the scholars coming from the cities to board at Pineyville for the sake of attending, and Mr. Watson was willing to give Eddie all its advantages free of cost, if he could spare the time to profit by them. But the boy thought sadly if he could not get clothes, he must put aside his books and go to work. Mrs. Hunter watched her boy with tearful eyes as he went down the road. She felt the probable loss of the year of study as keenly as Eddie, for she was proud of her noble boy's talents and industry. All day she tried to devise some plan by which the necessary suit of clothes could be procured, but in vain. 4 o'clock came, and Eddie would soon be home. His mother looked from the window for the slow step and downcast eyes of the morning. Was that Eddie coming? Could that radiant face be the same one she saw so clouded in the morning? She had not long to wait for an explanation. Eddie bounded into the house and was by her side in a moment. "Mother," he cried, "I have such splendid news. You know I have always thought the boys at school disliked me and were ashamed of my shabby clothes. Today they stole my luncheon basket, and I did not find it till after school was over. It was so heavy I thought it was full of dirt and stones, and opened it to throw them out. See what I found in it." As he spoke, he opened the basket and took out the contents. "Here is a scarf, a pair of new boots, a new cap, and 40 little packages of money, one from each boy. I do not know which boy gave each one, but the sums range from 10 cents to $1, and only one has a $5 bill in it. See, $21.75. "Boys," said Harry Mills on Monday morning, as they all watched a neatly dressed, gentlemanly-looking boy come down the road to school, "whose conspiracy was the best, Charlie's or mine?" "Yours!" 3 cheers for Edward Hunter and his luncheon basket.